Inspired by punk, CRASS were among the few bands to fully explore the ideas thrown up by the subculture. Their political integrity and huge underground success had a profound effect on many and paved the way for the resurgence of British anarchism.
I think punk was more energising later, which is in the early 80s, with all that peace punk and CRASS stuff.
CRASS appeared, just out of the blue. Phenomenal band, phenomenal take in the world.
They were like nothing else. They weren't really a punk band per se. They were like more of a political machine, really.
CRASS could sell 100,000 records without any radio play, where you went to any town in England and people were going around with anti-war slogans on the back and no more Hiroshimas.
This is right, this is like a reaffirmation, a relighting of the flame. As we started getting a following, I think everyone noticed that the Sex Pistols went to America and didn't really come back, and the Clash went to America and didn't come back, certainly not the same. And we were the fucking mugs going around to Wales or somewhere in Wales. People walking all over the mountains to get to the gig.
The most important element of our gigs is that hundreds of people had managed to get to some sort of tin hut in South Wales to have a fucking good evening together and talk about ideas. Someone could have rung up from, you know, wherever and said, look, here's 10 grand to come and ponce around on a stage with lights, and we'd have told them to fuck off, because that wasn't what we were doing.
I suppose that's where the real sort of anarchist thing started coming in. It was like, right, we're going to fucking stick in this country, talk to people that we know about laws that we know, and if we don't like it, that's what we're going to concentrate on.
The political events of the early 80s fueled CRASS's fire, and Thatcher's reaction to the Argentine invasion of the Falklands was inspired one of the band's most significant releases.
Nobody had actually been killed in this war, and it was obvious to everyone that it was just like vote catching for Margaret Thatcher, yet she was prepared to send all these people down to the Falkland Night that no one had ever heard of. What we decided to do to avoid the flack that we were obviously going to get and to avoid getting banned, we would just make it into a flexi and we'd just give it away free.
There's no doubt you've been hearing in the news today that the Attorney General has been asked to prosecute an anti-Falklands war record under the Obscene Publications Act. Here's a sample. Well, Conservative MP for Enfield North, Tim Egger, says,
it starts off, the last song starts off with the words, you shithead, slimy, got it all. And then it gets worse from there.
We were sent a letter by the Labour Party, which was from the Tory Party to all of its members. On no account must anyone have any dealings with any person known as CRASS Records or from the band CRASS or any affiliation of them. Basically, they gave us immediate blackdown. Our phone was tapped. It recently came to light that we were on the files of MI5.
Though inspiring, the myriad of issues confronted by the band caused its own problems amongst their supporters.
People really went off on different tangents, main interest. Maybe it was animals, maybe it was the environment, maybe it was the bomb.
Part of the problem was that nobody really knew what the hell they were doing or what they wanted.
I think at the beginning it was very together. I think gradually they became very disparate, those groups, and sadly started a lot of infighting, which curtailed a lot of the effort.
The massive success of punk-inspired collective CRASS led them not to stardom, but instead to providing opportunities for those who might never have the chance to record.
I think CRASS was responsible for a lot of that, but they were like a really well-organised unit. We set up our own label, not so we could make money, but so we could completely control our fate. The reason we signed other bands was that we were making money, and we were frankly embarrassed by it. You know, what do you do with huge amounts of money? The obvious thing was there are other people who want to do things who haven't got huge amounts of money. Let's spend it on them.
The way we used to run CRASS Records was you give you the opportunity to do one single.
Ever since then, there's been a strong alternative.
G. Voucher's intricate and painstakingly executed artwork for CRASS shockingly visualised the confrontational issues with which their songs dealt.
Because CRASS was a whole package that didn't stop on what you sounded like on a record. It was how it looked, the aesthetics of it, you know, what the sleeve said. And Guy's stuff were absolutely beautiful. Beautiful in a really austere, violent way, you know.
Because of the subject matter, which was pretty heavy. A lot of people didn't really look unless I really invited them in, so I mean my style became tighter and tighter.
Or maybe it's too difficult for a lot of people to cope with, and certainly a lot of people in the media, you know, just they don't want to discuss crass politics or the artwork, or so they've kind of been written out over the years.
A lot of the work is ironic. A lot of the work is about contradiction and the obvious stupidities of living in communities where it's ruled by complete idiots, really.
Much of G's art included film-based works which helped turn crass performances into a visual spectacle.
A lot of people didn't relate to the music, didn't like the music, but they loved the sort of videos and the moving images. They loved the, you know, the graphics.
I never liked the music, but I loved the artwork. I thought the artwork was very interesting. It was a real event. You know, you go to a crass gig, and whether you like the music or not, you certainly remember that night out.
You went to see him and it was as spectacular as a Nuremberg rally.
Someone told me that it was just like a fucking Nuremberg rally, or it was just like really quite awe-inspiring.
Basically it blew the top of your head off.
It's always been mutually inspiring. People always write and say, well, you were such an inspiration to us, but it was always mutual.
I will imagine what will happen as time goes on. There'll be a lot of interest. Those artworks will become particularly potent, possibly more important than a lot of other graphics connected to the punk scene.
At the epicentre of influence, as usual, were the anarcho-punk outfit CRASS.
CRASS was the mainstay of that second wave in the sense that I think we drew a lot of like-minded people together, and I think they really attempted to try and share a lot of information.
Our first early gigs were with Charlie Harper from the Subs. At the other side of the river, in Putney, at the end of the King's Road, in an empty pub, whilst the Pistols were still flaunting up and down King's Road, you know, selling Vivian Westwoods to Margaret Thatcher if she wanted to buy them. We were actually getting on with the job. And that's where it was born, you know, it wasn't born in the King's Road.
Crass I don't know much about. They go on and on and on. There's too much of it and it all sounds exactly the same.
Whether or not the Pistols were just absolute puppets, which I certainly believe they were largely, complete crapheads from the start, you know, who saw, yes, this is a natural opportunity for all of us to get on stage, all of us to do our thing, all of us to sort of share our own particular picture.
The Sex Pistols are completely timeless because we never ever did it to fit into a genre. Others did that after.
Bands like CRASS, who were very fashionable, you know, like didn't like to be unfashionable, and they kind of gave up the ghost.
That's why we have longevity, and that's the bit that the rest of these dopes don't get.